Welcome to How to Be a Humane Leader Without Losing Your Job. Dive deep into humane leadership practice for today's fast-paced business world. Don't miss our weekly YouTube live sessions every Thursday at 8:10 a.m. Central Time, 10:10 Eastern Time, where we engage and tackle present leadership topics. Listen to our podcast on all major streaming platforms and join us as we explore the essence of human leadership in today's dynamic business landscape. I'm Roberto Torres, a seasoned startup engineering leader, alongside Chris Olerke, a Fortune 100 IT leader. Today, we will discuss how to proactively prepare if you suspect a layoff is coming. Hi, sir. How have you been?
Good, Roberto. I've been doing well. I hope you're doing well and that your job still seems very secure.
Oh yeah, it is. And I spoke with my boss, with my leader this week, and it is rolling perfectly.
Excellent. And that's great to have those kind of reinforcements that things are going well in the business that you're working in. But I'll tell you, as I keep seeing a lot of headlines, there are a lot of people who are not in your situation, that things do seem to be slowing down a bit. Our U.S. Federal Reserve says, inflation's coming down, which is another way of also saying that perhaps the economy is slowing down. I'm seeing more headlines of layoffs. And I think people need to stay attuned or aware and listen to what's happening in their industry and in particular their business to prepare for potential layoffs. This is a traumatic thing that can happen to employees.
To anyone. And it happens all around the world. And it happens not only because of recession or inflation. It happens when a company doesn't meet the numbers that it has to have, when the projections are met. So it could lay in anyone. And I think the worst thing is to live in fear that you could be fired at some time. You might not know that is the problem. We have done this before, that our managers have told us, okay, we're going to cut by half your department. So I require for you to choose which person are going to leave the team. And it's difficult to do it. You will do it in the end, but it is difficult. So the people that might be fired is going to be in a constant fear, which is so depleting of energy.
It certainly is. And I think, in some of our previous podcasts, we spoke about some of the very distinct signs to listen to. Maybe we'll touch on a few of them today, but I'll try and focus on primarily, what to you, the employee, or you, the humane leader, should be doing if you suspect the layoffs are coming, right? So you don't know, you haven't been told yet, but what are some things to do? And I personally have found, working at a company where layoffs were very common, that you can get into this cycle of being worried about it, and then you don't be productive, and you spend a lot of time dwelling on it. Instead, if you do proactive, actionable things, you can manage that stress much better. And some of the things can be very basic. Basically, one of the things that I would frequently do if I thought it was a high risk period of layoffs is to look at what the postings are that are available. I think you're much less likely to get laid off within a big company, that I came from, a big company, if you've started a new role recently. So, look at the internal postings for your company. In one division, let's say aerospace, might be laying off. Well, maybe the chemicals area is hiring. And that can happen in really huge, 100, 200, 300,000 person companies where one section is reducing staff, another area is hiring. Well, move towards the area of the business that's doing better. And you may find a good promotion. Doesn't need to be lateral, doesn't need to be demotion because you're worried. It could be a very positive thing. So this might motivate you to move your career forward in a particular direction. So being proactive and thinking about where do your, career aspirations lie, and maybe there's a really good new role that you didn't know about because you didn't look at the job postings. The company I came from, there literally were thousands of job postings. Now, granted, most in areas that I wasn't either qualified to work in or not interested to work in. But you can find roles that might be contributory to your career. It's, hey, I don't have a lot of project management experience, so maybe moving into an area that's requesting someone to start doing more project management, then that's helpful in your career to go in that direction.
Oh yeah, and excuse me. And in startups, it is the opposite. If you know that maybe the startup is crumbling and there will be cuts in the headcount, you cannot move to another department because we are small. So if your contracts allows you to go to the competition, maybe you could go to the one who has received an investment, maybe a Series A, maybe a Series B, or the one who to be becoming an unicorn. So in the end, if your contract allows you to do this, go. If you don't, what I have always thought it is that it is easier and faster for you to get hired if you're employed, rather than you're unemployed. So if you think that you to be fired, begin looking for a job and maybe go where you to provide value. If it's in a same alike kind of a business model company, go. If your contract doesn't allow it, go where you think you could do it. And what I have seen in LinkedIn, or what I used to, was that there are many job offers, and if you begin doing like scoping where you could land in LinkedIn, you could apply faster for that position and go and apply.
Yeah, certainly. And I think, if you're doing your best to improve your skill set all the time, I'll use a recent topic, security is really hot. And during the pandemic, many different companies were offering free training, right? So if you've been investing in yourself over time, taking different trainings, doesn't have to be security, but just using that as a recent example, a hint or a fear that there might be layoffs might be a good motivating factor to turn that negative fear into a positive action to encourage more training. And maybe now, again, it's time to pivot your career. You've got a background in service desk, let's say, and service desk management. And so now you're interested in security. You've done several of the classes that are online and passed, maybe got higher grades than average. Now may be a good time for you to try and pivot and go into an area where maybe it's still service desk related, but about security breaches. That might be a very good way to kind of start to transition your career into things that are in higher demand. I'll go real old school on you. If you were a COBOL programmer back in 1980, probably not too many of those folks listening to this call, but if you saw the writing on the wall that PCs and networking and the internet were coming, you would realize that you need to start getting rid of your COBOL programming skills and start learning HTML and move your career along. Well, certainly security has been very high profile. Well, if you really want to follow things that are in demand, what have you done in training in that area? Or AI, which is like the super hot topic of the last year. Are you in an area with enough engineering skills that you could dive deep in AI, or are you maybe at a different skill set where you would help with the marketing of selling the subscription services to AI? So, what's hot, and are you starting to align your career towards things that are growing, staying stable, or shrinking? And you certainly don't want to be in a career where all the news articles and everything say your career is shrinking.
Yeah, yeah. And also what I think that anyone could do is we have a network. Regardless of the position, regardless of the department that we've been working, we have a network. So if you feel that you could be fired, let's begin seeking out in your network. Let's say, for instance, I'm a network engineer, and I have this my network, and I begin maybe talking to sending messages or emails, WhatsApp, text to my contacts and say, hey, is there an opportunity, a job opportunity for someone like me in your company? And you might feel surprised that there are many people that could say yes. There will be some that will say no, but they will say yes. We're going to open this position in the near future. Do you want to apply? What is going on? You express yourself. So I think if you proactively work on yourself rather than when the damage has been done, it's going to set your mood higher and your chances as well.
Yeah, being proactive. I think what you're focusing on similar is you're being proactive versus sitting back and waiting for the impact to hit you. You definitely, when you can, is to be that kind of proactive seeker. And to a degree, you really almost need to be doing this your entire career, all the time, every day, so to speak. And as you mentioned, reaching out to your network of contacts that are in LinkedIn, et cetera. You don't want to start building your network of LinkedIn contacts the day you get notified you're being laid off. You should have been growing that over the years so that you have a large number of people who have also moved on to other areas, other companies, et cetera, other technologies, so that you have these contacts that you've developed over time. You hopefully have occasionally reached out to some of those that you feel could potentially help. You could mutually help each other, so that when you've helped them in the past, when they've moved on to other areas and you need to move on, they can turn around and help you. So I would encourage that your networking isn't a one-time event. Your networking is something that you actively grow over time, and you have to keep, nurturing it along, because if it's just a one-way thing instead of two-way, it's not very likely many people will help you as much. I mean, it's sort of one of those things like when this is kind of for young people, right? When you need to move apartments and stuff, you learn who your real friends are. Your real friends help you move apartments. Your friends who are casual, go out with you, go to parties and things, somehow are always busy every time you need help. So what kind of network do you have on LinkedIn and other social media? Have you helped others be successful? Have you helped others find other jobs? Then hopefully that will be, reciprocated to you when your hour of need comes up.
Oh, yeah. Very nice example, because when you said that, I thought of my friend, Juan, which helped me to move to this apartment. So, and he is one of my best friends, and I know that if I have a problem, I can reach to him, and he will help me as well as me to him. Excuse me that I deviated. One thing also to do with your network is, as you mentioned, they will solve every problem that you have. Let me tell you, yesterday I knew from a previous company that of my former engineers was fired yesterday. So she posted on LinkedIn, hey, I'm looking for a QA job, etc. So what I did was repost that to my network. At first, that is the first of a series of help tools that you can do. The second one was I knew that companies here in Mexico, two companies in Mexico, were looking for a QA. So what I did was to use that post and repost it directly through an email message to the directors of those two companies and mentioning Maya was an amazing QA engineer. She could help me with that. And at least in without bragging that I help her to her, what I did was repost that so maybe she could get an interview.
Yes, no,
And
absolutely. And you know, and she hopefully along the way had prepared her resume and things for those different things before the layoff occurred. Because for me personally, I know when I got laid off, while I saw it coming for quite a while, it's still shocking when it actually does happen. I mean, I saw all the signs that we've talked about in the past, you know, managers asking for documentation and a previous layoff a few months before for certain reasons that were very suspicious, et cetera. So you know it's coming. It's just that because you're senior, they waited a bit longer to do your layoff. But even when it hits you, it is kind of shocking. So having your resume, you know, getting ready before it actually happens, you'll be in a much better frame of mind. You have done this training, you've developed more skills. You're just mentally in a better state to deal with the situation. And hopefully she saw these posts. You know, it's always uplifting to have your associates helping you and giving you thumbs up and mentioning positive things about you. So those are, you know, things that you develop them over time. If she had never stayed in contact with you, as soon as you guys parted ways, she never reached out, never texted, never nothing, and then all of a sudden she gets laid off, you're probably not going to help her much. But, you know, if you develop these things over time, it can be very beneficial in both directions, which is critical.
oh yeah, and for that, you must take ownership of your project, which is you. You don't, the do is take ownership. The don't, it is take for granted. Oh, I'm going to get a job because I'm so good. No, you have to know that you're facing a fierce competition. There might be people looking at a specific job, 1,000 people. So you must be proactively working for you. And for that, it is if you know there is going to be maybe job fairs in your state, in your city, go. If you know that maybe a company is growing and there might be some job positions for you, apply. Or if you know maybe those companies, the HR director, you know it, you know him or her, send her an email because they know if they're going to be open positions or not. So try to be really, really proactive.
Yeah, and being proactive, like you're saying, is very comforting in a stressful situation. I had always found as I faced layoffs multiple times in this company, my lowest stress level was once I made those first steps to be proactive, meaning I started looking through the job posting things, or I updated my resume and I posted it to the first open job I was actually interested in. And I probably moved around every 3 to 4 years, which was kind of the culture of the company. That was about normal. And so, you know, you have to try and stay positive. You can be negative. Let's suppose you've now been notified you're being laid off. All right, be negative, be sad, be upset, be mad for a day, maybe 2 at the most, but then be proactive. Because really being mad, being angry isn't going to solve it. It isn't going to make it go away. It isn't going to help you find the next job. None of those actions help. What helps is being proactive and doing as many positive things as you can to motivate yourself to get moving. Because sometimes finding a new job that's going to be a good fit, that you're going to enjoy and you're going to want to work at for a while, is going to take time. And depending on the economic situation where you are or the industry that you're best in, sometimes that might mean you might be looking for weeks and weeks or maybe even months. If you're more senior, meaning directors, senior directors, vice presidents, you're going to be looking for a while because there's a lot less of those jobs. If you're 2 years into your career, okay, there's probably a lot more job openings for people with 3 years of experience than there are for people with 35 years of experience.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is, as you mentioned, senior positions are going to take longer. And if you're above 40, 45, 50 years old, it's going to take much longer. So be prepared to do this. And one thing that is really, really important, it is that the economic situation. If you think and you really, really think that you're going to get laid off, and there's a higher chance of that, don't waste your money on things that you might require later, that you might require that money later. Because if you think you're going to spend a vacations in Europe, or you're going to buy the hottest car or something that you might not need, be really uh, uh, think about this very thoroughly, because that money you will require, maybe you might require later.
Yes. And speaking of the money, depending again on the company that you're in, our company had all their HR benefits online in an employee portal. So you need to be familiar with what your benefits are to help you with that financial calculation. So, different companies have different policies. Maybe you get 1 week per year for every year you've been employed. Maybe the minimum severance you get is 5 weeks and you get an extra week for every year you've been there, or 2 weeks for every year you've been there. Every company is a little bit different, but you need to be familiar with what the severance package and severance pay is. Every country is a bit different. So know what your benefits are, so that if you're in a job where, look, they could lay me off today and I'm only going to get 4 weeks worth of pay and then the paychecks stop, and I have no money in the bank and nothing saved up, and my rent is 80% of my paycheck. Boy, you needed to start saving 5 years ago then, because that's just going to make your stress so much worse. So you really, again, in trying to be proactive and be under less stress, really is a long-term plan. There aren't too many things you can do in the short term around finances that are only 1 or 2 weeks. You're getting nervous and now you got 1 or 2 weeks to prepare. But as you've mentioned, maybe those big purchases like, hey, you know what, I was going to buy that new BMW. Well, if you suspect highly probable that you might get laid off, if you can, I would keep the older car and save that money until you are in a role that is you feel more secure in.
Oh, yeah, that's why we have spoken of this in our 21st, 2021, what to do after a layoff, your essential guide to bounce back stronger. We spoke there about a budget. Usually in Mexico, we call fat. Slim cows is when you don't receive money on a daily basis in your salary, you've been fired. You had to cut your budget to a slim cow so you could live, but don't waste money. So in this case, if you think that is going to be a chance for you to get fired, move your budget to a slim cow. But
yeah, whatever kind of company or business role you have or whatever, financial freedom or financial soundness of your home budget is probably one of the most liberating things. Once you've achieved that you've got a good financial base and good amount of savings, a lot of things at work could get a lot less stressful.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great, man. I think with this, we could end this episode, and I'll see you next week.
They're very good. And stay employed.